If Gardner Minshew keeps that job, which do you think Hurts is in a situation now where he will possibly lose his job to Gardner Minshew?
I think they're on bye next week, so he'll have
Right.
2 weeks. Assuming he is fully healthy in 2 weeks, I think they'll go back to him.
Do you think they'll go back to Hurts?
I think he'll have a short leash. If he goes out and has a bad first half, I think they'll bench him for Minshew.
I mean, the team was so much more fun and electric, or fun to watch and electric, and they were actually kind of scary in the air. With Hurts, it's just let's just hope he doesn't run, and that's
still
it.
Been winning games with him.
Yeah, but it's been boring football.
Yeah, sometimes.
And he's bad. Hurts is bad. Hurts is bad at football. I feel like
I still think Hurts is pretty good.
Why do you think he's good? What has Hurts done other than run?
Well, that's still part of winning the game. He's good at that. He's better than almost everyone in the league at that. And he can still pass the ball. He has some games where he throws bad passes, but he has some games where he throws some great passes too.
So since week 6, he's only had 1 week where he threw over 200 yards.
That's also sometimes just game script dependent. Like, they get up a lot early in the game, and then he doesn't need to throw because he can always run for some yards, and they're just not in a passing mentality in that game.
Because he's bad at passing. They don't want to pass.
Well, they'd rather have him run if they can. He's better at that. I would not deny that.
But he's a quarterback. Why don't you just make him a running back then if that's what he's going to do?
I still think he's better than Minshew, but if he's out, I like Minshew quite a bit.
I do too. Minshew looked really, really good. He threw 12 passes.
At halftime, Minshew had like over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he
did nothing in the second half. But that's just the same thing Hurts has been having the problem with, is just game script. They did not pass the ball at all in the second half.
He didn't have an incompletion, I think, until his 15th attempt.
Yeah.
It was, and his passer rating was above 130. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had a near perfect passer rating, Gardner Minshew.
I like Minshew, man. When he was in Jacksonville, I liked him. Jacksonville doesn't make a lot of good decisions, but I think they could have easily held on to Minshew and built other places on that team to make their team better.
Yeah. Do you think that if you have Hurts, you need to pick up Gardner Minshew as a safety?
I think that's a great move. I have a league, our main league, where I have been riding Hurts all year, and I picked up Minshew as soon as I saw there was a chance he might not play, because I think if Hurts is out, you can slide Minshew in, and he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And even like I said, they're on bye next week, but in 2 weeks, if Hurts goes out and gets off to a rough start, they might bench him. That's been talked about all year.
Yeah.
So he's kind of on the hot seat at this point.
Which makes sense because he's bad at football. He's Gardner Minshew is only
he's still the 5th best fantasy quarterback.
Fantasy,
in the league.
but that's you put these pretty numbers on top of a bad quarterback. He's still a bad quarterback. There's 1 week where he had 100 passing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
That was
why
Hurts.
would you pass if you can just rush for 3 touchdowns? Running is safer than passing.
It makes the other team. It makes it easy for the other team to beat you if they know that the only thing you can do is run. Which is, what's the record? Do you know what the record is?
6-6 or 7-6. They're in that middle ground range. I'm not sure.
But Gardner Minshew is only 5.9% owned across ESPN leagues. If you're hurting a quarterback and you need a backup, I feel like Gardner Minshew has a likely scenario of actually getting the starting job there before the end of the season.
Yeah, and we talked about Goddard. I think Goddard would benefit a lot from having Minshew, right?
Right.
Because
absolutely, 100%. Way more excited about Goddard with
I still
Minshew
think
than...
Goddard's the best receiver on that team. Devontae Smith is good too, but I think Goddard's the number 1 receiver on that team.
Yeah.
And with Minshew throwing the ball, I think that's a very valuable position.
Absolutely.
He likes to throw to tight ends. He threw to tight ends all the time in Jacksonville.
Yeah. And even though Devontae Smith, he only got 2 targets, I think, in the past week.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't very involved, I'm still more excited about him with Minshew at quarterback than I am with Hurts, because they have to pass the ball more because it's Minshew. Minshew's not known for running.
The one thing with Smith for Jalen Hurts is that Hurts is willing to throw the ball down the field to Devontae Smith, and he's pretty good at that, actually.
He had 2 weeks where he did all right at that.
They don't do it all the time, but he throws a pretty good deep ball, and I don't think that's quite Minshew's game. He's more of that mid-range passing.
I think the 2 touchdowns that he threw to Goddard were kind of long. They were kind of down the field.
Like a lot of air yards?
Yeah,
or he caught it 15
yards
and then ran a lot after that?
I know at least one of them was
really?
a lot of air yards.